Hello everyone, just a quick word from your friendly editor/husband. For all of you who listen to So I'm Watching This Show and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android devices. I use the app and love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure you set So I'm Watching the Show as a favorite so you don't miss any new episodes. Again, the app is Podcast Republic, available on your Android device. Thanks!
I'm just tired. I'm so tired.
What did you watch?
We watched Joker on Thursday, and we watched The Irishman yesterday, and this morning we watched Uncut Gems. And then we watched Marriage Story, which was excellent, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And he's not an irredeemable man. He's, like, mostly fine. And then I watched the first 2 episodes of You, so that we could sit down. But boy, howdy, are those other 3 movies not for me. Like, I can't even explain how not for me they are. It's so much not for me. And they're just gonna win every award. Specifically Joker and The Irishman, which I liked the least.
They're gonna make new awards for them to win next year, too.
Unfucking believable.
Best year anniversary of a Best Actor performance.
Best anniversary of Joaquin Phoenix winning for the Joker last year.
Hello, everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show. On today's episode, we're going to begin our You Season 2 coverage with a little conversation about the first 2 episodes.
Is it only 8?
I actually didn't look because I Googled it once and already got a spoiler.
Yeah, I did too.
So
I was looking. It was actually. I totally made a mistake. It's 10.
Okay.
I was looking for a GIF of Candace and started scrolling through Tumblr, and I was like, "Well, this is a bad mistake."
Yeah, I didn't go that far.
So I quit.
I got one of those headlines that was like, "Is blank blank?" And I was like, "Well, now I think it might be."
It. Yeah.
But it's not something like it wasn't like, "Is love dead?" It wasn't like that, but
Sure. But it was enough, yeah.
It was enough that I was like, I am anticipating that plot line now. It won't surprise me, but I'll tell you when we get to it, if we do get to it.
Okay.
What if, like, to keep people on their toes, like, publications started throwing out, like...
fake spoilers?
Yeah, like, misguiding clickbait? Like,
that would be funny.
Did aliens land in the latest episode of You? And it's like, no, they did not.
Probably not.
So... we watched season 1 last year, both of us on Netflix, correct?
Yeah, I had watched the first episode when it aired on Lifetime, and then I just, like, didn't keep up with it. So, yeah, I like, binged it all in one weekend on Netflix.
Yeah, we both plowed through them at different times, and we a little bit covered my rewatch, because I watched it, like, in the spring. So I think one of our episodes in the spring, I think it was the Netflix Roundup.
Maybe.
Extremely Wicked Netflix Roundup.
Yeah.
We touched on my thoughts and feelings, and I really enjoyed it. It's kind of the epitome of a guilty pleasure, and even though, you know, we and you are very on the record as not believing in that still, it paints a picture.
It's like a very soapy and like a little trashy, but it's like...
and it takes
like
itself very seriously, but not in a way that, like...
I think it takes itself as seriously as it needs to in order to be legitimate, because, like, it is very trashy, and it's, you know, but it's like... it's like really high class. Like, it's not pork rinds, it's chicharron.
Well, I was going to say, it also is a quality product, even though it is trashy. It's very nighttime. I mean, you said soapy was a good word, but and certainly a nighttime soap, and not like a... although people love their like daytime soap operas, but... So, yeah, we pick up this season with Joe moving to LA. That's another thing is actually I find the show just hilarious. Like, I'm laughing at it a lot.
It's very funny.
How much he hates LA, and also just how bad he is at being a crazy person is really funny to me.
Well, he also, I think it's so funny how he hates the places differently, because he didn't like New York either, because there's just a different brand of hipster there. He just hates people so much, and he's one of those hilarious, like, pro/antagonists, because he is ostensibly our hero going through this, but he is also obviously murdering hella people. And I think it's so funny because he has these such high standards for people where, like, if you don't read the right book and if you care too much about, like, you know, toxins that you put in your body, you're obviously faking it through life. And so he's like the true platonic pinnacle of what a person should be. And yet he knows he has problems.
Yeah.
He's very Holden Caulfield. Yeah.
But
agreed.
Yeah, so having not, I mean, I've been to LA a few times. I don't live there or anything like that, but it does seem like they've nailed the particular type of LA hipster, and
yeah,
it's dialed up to 11, I would say. But
of course, but it has to be for comedy, and I would also say that some of that is like, I think some of it is heightened through the lens that we're viewing, that is Joe, where like, I'm sure there are people who are that terrible in LA, but I think because he hates it so much, that's why it's dialed to 11 the way that it is. Well, so that we are seeing it as he sees it.
It's like even Love. It's like, by all accounts, she's a great girl. She's like fun, she's sweet, she's pretty, everything. But this bitch, we're 2 episodes in, and I'm like, sweetheart, you have got to chill out. Like,
she is like maybe my favorite manic pixie dream girl of the last 5 years.
I was wondering, because for me, it's a lot, but it's not too, like, it's playing off on purpose for me. Like it's coming off like she's very deliberate. We're not watching Nell from The Haunting of Hill House.
Exactly. And I was going to say, we really both liked Victoria Pedretti from Hill House as Nellie. And I think that it is very cool how different she feels in this, to the point where Will was cooking while I was watching it, and he was like, man, I didn't realize how much they kind of aged her up on Hill House. And I was like, yeah, she's only 24, and she feels only 24 in this show, in a way that she felt like, I mean, I know she wasn't like in her 30s or anything, but she felt more mature, I guess.
Well, and Oliver Jackson Cohen is like 35. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
But I posted a tweet where I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and it was lofty, but I said I predict she'll be nominated for an Oscar this decade. And I don't know that Oscar,
I can see it.
Like I said, it's lofty, but my point is, I think she's one to watch. Like,
well, I mean, I think at least like an Emmy or a Golden Globe. I don't know how many movies she's trying to do. She's been doing a lot of TV.
Well, it's just Hill House was her first show, her first audition, and her first yet. And then within a calendar year, she did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then got the female lead of You season 2 on Netflix. I'm like, that's true. We're gonna see her. Like, she's gonna, and these are good things where it's like she's definitely flexing her skills and her muscles, but it's because I don't even want to say low stakes, because these aren't low stakes roles, but they're good. Like, the stakes are good. Yeah. And I definitely think we'll see a lot from her based on this 1 year alone. If these are the people whose eyes she's catching.
No, totally. Because I mean, you know, not everybody knows who Sarah Gamble is, but she's not nobody. She's making 3 different quality TV shows. I think she's gonna be someone to watch as well. So I'm like, I agree with you about Victoria Pedretti.
And I do appreciate that she is different from Beck. It doesn't feel like the same thing, which was, I think, a concern going into like a season 2 of a show like this, that it's just going to be sort of like a copy or a mirror of the first season.
Yeah, and I don't think it is. And especially based on a couple of things that I've seen that were like spoiler adjacent, I think we're working with a different set of rules, which is fun.
I like how knowing it is. I don't quite remember if season 1 was as knowing. I'll go ahead and say yes. But just even before we had even met Love, all of like Joe's waxing poetic about the concept of love. Yeah. And then we meet her and that's her name. And I'm like, this is hilarious.
It is hilarious.
Too good. We do have a cast of characters that I was trying to keep a little bit of tabs on. We have Ellie and Delilah. I really like both of them.
I especially like Delilah, especially after that story she told in the laundromat, or the laundry room, I guess, at the hotel or the apartment complex. Wow. And especially when she was like, I don't know what kind of fucking freak you are, but like, I earned my radar the hard way and I'm looking at you. And I was like, oh, damn. I was like, get it.
And it's so
weird. And then I got immediately worried for her.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, because I said to my brother, we were watching some of it and talking about it, and I was like, because I pitched it as he was like a serial killer, and I was like, he kills people, but that's never his goal. Like, he's not going out to kill people.
Yeah, he's not like Dexter. He's not looking for people to kill. He just doesn't have any compunction about doing it if it suits him in the moment.
And for me, the biggest the biggest hurdle I have with him is not the killing. I'm fine with that. It's how short-sighted he always is.
Yeah, he does. That is the thing, is he is very, he wouldn't make a good chess player.
No.
But he would make maybe a good boxer or something, because he's very in the moment.
He's too quick to lie with specifics that can be easily checked.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I remember, because it's like, I famously say that I'm a bad liar, and I am a bad liar. Like, I am not good at completely, like, building a lie from the ground up.
Oh, sure. Okay.
But I can manipulate situations. And so I remember, like, trying to teach Rachel how to lie. And like, the thing with lying, I was like, is you always have to start with an element of truth, or you have to put like one
detail.
Yeah, you have to, like, adjust yourself to the side. Like, I was like, if you're late to class, because it was, like, in college, and I was like, you can't be like, my car broke, because that's too easy. You have to be like, my friend's car broke, and I was helping them. I was like, because you can still get in trouble for that, but I was like, the likelihood that someone would actually punish you for being a hero is, like, slim.
And you can't give too much detail, because that's another thing that Joe does. And I think I've mentioned it before. It was one of the things that made me angriest towards the end of watching Breaking Bad, because Walt was such a bad liar, where he would be like telling his wife, like, oh, well, this, and then this, and this, and this, and the other, and this, and this, and this. And I was like, stop talking. That's so much detail, and so much of it is like checkable. And it was just like, so that's, I think that is an issue with Joe too.
I'm less worried about Ellie, the younger sister.
Yeah.
Although, like I said, I don't want this to just be a mirror of season 1. So it's like...
So you don't want him to be like, what was the kid's name? Pedro?
Paco. Right?
I don't know.
I think it was.
The cute kid from across the hall.
Ellie is she's just cool. Like, her Instagram rules were so spot on. Like, they were so good. Because I even wrote down a couple of things where she was like, feeds that aren't lame don't overshare, and they help people get to know you. And then also the don't filter, don't hashtag, just lean into your thing. Like,
I did like that she was like, hashtags are thirsty. I was like, as I'm hashtagging you, Netflix, on Twitter, I was like, well,
I guess we'll see where they're going. The thing that I kind of keep waiting for with the show is for people, I keep waiting for someone to find out and just be fine with it. Because where I don't think that would be common, I think it would be more common than we would be prepared to admit. Because, I mean, just turn on the news, watch the evening news and find out that somebody was keeping like a teenager in the basement, and his wife is next to him kind of like, I mean, I knew he shouldn't have been, but...
Yeah.
And it's like, I think people are far more willing to go along with things than we want to admit.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that not in like a ride or die, she's gonna help kind of way, but Candace doesn't seem to feel any compulsion to turn him in.
That's exactly, I had already kind of forgotten about her, so that's very true. We don't know what happened with them, correct?
We don't know totally. The implications are all that they were in a relationship and she was cheating and didn't love him, and he like left her for dead somewhere, but she
last
survived.
Season they straight up let us to believe she was dead, but then the big surprise was that she was still alive, and
I think he thought she was dead. So
she's lurking on the periphery.
Yeah, and maybe she is dead. Maybe this all in his head, like Beck was these first 2 episodes.
Fair, but I don't think so. I think she's real, because I think that could actually pose a real dilemma, a real problem.
Yeah.
Like a real obstacle for the season. Whereas if she was imaginary, I think it would be very limited what they could do with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But, so we also have Calvin. He was nice. He was... the guy that worked at fucking, what was it called? A Navrin?
Yeah, it's Nirvana backwards.
That shit was so funny.
It is so funny.
I was like, he's succeeding at making me hate California.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't ever want to go to Los Angeles either now.
And it's kind of owned by 40, who is terrible and unironically calls people old sport.
I was losing my goddamn mind. He kept on calling Joe old sport, and I was like, oh, man.
And
because he didn't read The Great Gatsby. He saw the movie and started doing it. That's how it happened.
Well, because he thinks Star Wars was based on a novel.
Yeah, no, I mean,
which it's loosely based on a French comic book, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, and then we found out in episode 2 that he is Love's twin brother.
Yeah.
So I guess Victoria's got that in her contract.
And being a widow. I was like, because that's what I tweeted. I was like, maybe Victoria Pedretti could not play a widow, like, just for fun.
She was so funny when she was like, I know, married and widowed at this age. It sounds so Victorian.
It was amazing. It was very good.
So Will is real Will, although Joe started calling him OG Will.
Yeah, which is good.
Is still alive and in the cage. A new cage in a storage unit, and already looking like he might be some fun. I don't know that I'm predicting he's on the show for the long run, but...
Well, it's Robin Lord Taylor, right? The guy that was playing Penguin on Gotham.
Okay, yeah. I didn't look him up because I was too afraid, but... Oh,
no, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's him.
So yeah, that seemed kind of fun. He is crazy bipolar, like way bipolar. To like a lot, the party scene with Rufus where he was just like, take off your clothes.
Yeah, that was also very good. Very, very good. And I love where he was like, I don't have $50,000. I just have these pills for you. And he was like, are you fucking kidding me? I need the money. Joe was like, I need the money. And he was like, can you settle for the blowjob? And I was like, no. That's not an equivalent.
I should be so lucky.
For a $50,000 blowjob?
Well, no, to like rent a call boy and to have Penn Bagley show up.
Oh, I mean, for sure.
And not one of those dudes in the mankini.
Yeah, those were not great.
So we also have Chris D'Elia, who is, well, he called him the Unabomber at first, so that's what I was calling him, but then we find out that his name is Henderson, and he's I'll go ahead and say it, Dane Cook-esque comedian.
Or you can go ahead and say he's a Chris D'Elia-esque comedian.
Do we not? I like him okay. Is he kind of one of those that's like a dirtbag?
He's kind of a dirtbag.
Okay.
I don't know that he's like a full dirtbag. I don't care for his persona.
A handful of them, like Tosh or Anthony Jeselnik, I'm like, I'm mostly fine with them. Mm-hmm. But Chris D'Elia was friends with Whitney Cummings, and I do like her. So I feel like I'm hemorrhaging likes with this conversation. People are like, I'm out.
No, he likes Chris D'Elia. Gross.
And Whitney Cummings. But for me, the main reason was that we just talked about it the other day, but that bit he did about Fergie singing the national anthem, I just thought was so brilliant and so spot on.
Hey, man, stop bashing Fergie, okay? You asked Fergie to do the national anthem at the NBA basketball, at the NBA fucking national anthem. Guess what? You got Fergie, man. You got Fergie. That's what you got. She fucking killed that shit. I don't give a shit what you say. She did it in her Fergie way, okay? You didn't ask Andrea Bocelli to sing that shit. You didn't ask these motherfuckers to do it. You made Fergie and then asked her to sing the national anthem and then didn't like what she did. Fuck that. You made your bed, lay in it.
So, I don't know. But he's playing this role, so, I mean, maybe he's got a sense of humor. I don't know. He, I guess we are to believe, likes young girls.
I think he
certainly has no problem with.
Yeah, we're at least meant to believe that he has experience with young girls, I guess. Mm-hmm.
And possibly drugging them.
Yeah, I mean, in which case we should really stop pussyfooting. He's probably raping young girls.
Yeah. Well, that's what Delilah said. And she did not seem to be facilitating it for attention or anything.
No.
So yeah, I don't know if we're going to go more Dexter with Joe this season, but
I'm not sure either. He did at first when he was getting his finger cut off by that guy. I was like, oh, this is obviously like a dream. And then it just kept happening. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, I thought he was imagining that might be what would happen.
Oh, I believed it.
And I literally, it took me like 30 full seconds into the scene for me to be like, oh no, he really cut his pinky off.
Because I gotta be honest, I was actually very sad to lose Jasper as quickly as we did.
He was fun.
He was a lot of fun. That I thought,
he was fun.
I felt like, especially once he got to the storage unit and found OG Will in the cage, and he was like, oh man. He was like, this is
love that because again, he didn't seem as put out with it as you would imagine.
Well, he's a Russian gangster.
And he literally was like, you have mental problems, right? And I just was like, I mean, what are you gonna do?
So, I'm fine that if we had ultimately lost him, but I would have hung on to him for another episode or two.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Also, Love has a coven. Did we mean coven in the literal sense, or was she being cute?
I think she was being cute, but I would be fine either way, especially because their names are Gabe, Lucy, and Sunrise.
Let me tell you, I miss Peach.
I do miss Peach too, but I think Melanie Field is like a decent...
Well, I like Melanie Field. She played Sunrise. She's a mommy blogger and Lucy's partner.
Well, she also was the one from Heathers.
Yeah, she was Heather Chandler in Heathers, and then she was at the Fat Girl pool party in Shrill.
She was there too, wasn't she?
We really like Melanie Field, and I'm hoping we get some good material, but they were annoying in a way that Peach was annoying, but
Peach was so annoying.
I thought she was hysterical. She was my favorite part of the first season.
I suspect we will get somewhere further with them.
Yeah, I hope so. Because and then Gabe is a Mikey Day character.
I mean, no. Well, it also felt weirdly like the Instagaze episode of the other two.
Well,
I used to be fat, and now I have 2 nieces.
He's a pansexual yoga guy that mostly sleeps with men. Only he does this yoga practice where he fingers women to completion. So
on yoga pillows.
Yeah, on yoga pillows. So
very good. It's just it's because I've never been to California, but it's exactly what I feel like Los Angeles is like.
It's very Ingrid Goes West.
Very Ingrid Goes West. Yeah, that is true.
Also, the hipster at the California party that thought that Joe was John Mayer, that was Ira Madison.
Oh, was it really?
From Keep It, yeah.
Oh my God, funny. I really liked that too. Because I was like, oh my God, Penn Badgley does look a little bit like John Mayer.
Also, I mean, considering how cute I think he is, he really is like leaning into like the 70s serial killer aesthetic with this. How he didn't play Ted Bundy in that movie, I don't know.
I literally saw a post about that the other day that was like, look, Zac Efron did great, but like Penn Badgley has way more of the look for it. Mm-hmm. And I tend to agree, even as much as I like Zac Efron, but yeah, I agree.
So he and Love have barreled into this relationship.
Yeah, like
eyes first.
eyes closed, head first, can't lose.
And what was that reveal at the first episode? But I mean, I get that it was like he actually was stalking her.
Yeah, I mean,
it was presented weirdly.
It was presented a little strangely. I think the gist just is that he was like, he hadn't planned to do anything. He hadn't planned to stay here. He would like he was asking OG Will how to get to Mexico, but like only with the ability to come back, and that's why he ended up kidnapping him. But he didn't want to stay in Los Angeles. He wanted to get to Mexico and leave, but then he saw her and decided to stay.
Okay.
So he's like staying because he like fell down in it again. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he has his like little trophy box again that presumably he just like dug a hole in the wall and then hung a conspicuous painting over it. So
yeah, it is his only art.
I imagine that getting knocked off the wall by episode 4 at a minimum.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that's mostly the gist of it. Love she's a chef. Mm-hmm. Which is cool. It's made for so far a lot of fun shots. I just love watching people cook in movies.
I love
it's always shot so beautifully.
They're taking it, well, because they were cutting it against him, like, dissecting that guy, Jasper. But
yeah.
I like that they are absolutely taking advantage of the Netflix TV MA, but it doesn't feel like they, like, barreled into it. Like, it doesn't feel like they were, like, in the first 5 minutes trying to, like, show you that.
No. I think it's doing what it's meant to be doing. I don't think it's trying too hard to, like, live up to TVMA.
So, I mean, it would have been on Lifetime, but it's like, actually, is Lifetime one of the channels that they were saying fuck on? There's a handful of cable channels that they started letting things air.
I can't remember if they were letting them actually say fuck, but I do think they filmed it, and they might have been bleeping it.
Yeah. But I think that the dissecting scene was a bit much, because that's another time where I wrote, a lot. I was like, I love how bad at this Joe actually is. Yeah,
where he's just like vomiting, and he's doing like in
the kitchen of a Navarin.
Yeah, exactly. And he's using a saw that you would use to cut like a side of beef or whatever. And it's just like, I could hear the bone cutting, and I was like, I don't need this.
Oh yeah, Ellie, she's too cool for school because she name dropped the movie Tangerine. I was like, shit.
She did, yeah.
So I liked that. Don't say you get it in books. Books take too long.
Yeah.
You need art. So, okay. Yeah, Ellie's my early favorite. So.
Cool, all right.
And then we'll check back in after a couple more episodes.
Yeah. Sweet.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I was going to ask you how Little Women was.
Oh my God, so good.
Was it?
I cried the whole time. It was really, really, really good.
Is it funny? It looks like it's funny.
It's funny in parts, for sure, yeah. Also, everybody's been giving, like, hard shit to Emma Watson because of her accent, I guess, and she's just fine.
What kind of accent is she supposed to have?
Well, they're from Massachusetts in, like, Civil War times, but it's
kind of English, though, isn't it? Like...
Well, a little, but it's also just how she always sounds when she puts on an American accent. Like, it's fine.
I wonder when the transition happened. Like, when the American accent actually came.
Well, I think I said it once before, but apparently the way that we speak is the way that British people spoke originally. And then when we became independent, they, like, went with the upper crusty stuff they have now to distinguish themselves from us.
I read that, too, but it was on Tumblr. It's one of those things that, like,
I'm not sure if it's, like...
because there's still the old Shakespeare pronunciations and stuff.
Sure.
Like, have you ever heard, like, what is it, Old English?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's really trippy because it's like 2 out of 5 words you got a handle on.
Yeah.
But okay, I wanted to clarify because towards the end of our previous coverage, I was very like, Delilah said that Hendy, like, assaulted her, and do we believe that? And I meant that from a plot, like a mystery. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't like, do we believe women? It's 2020.
No, of course we believe women. I got what you meant.
Okay, a show like this, there's lots of twists and turns, and
yeah, I mean, she could very well, in order to make this show dramatic, be falsifying some stuff, but it doesn't seem like it now. Yeah.
Well, because at the end of episode 3, they were kind of working not overboard, but they were like working hard to make you kind of like Henderson, whatever. And I liked this character, and we have watched 3 and 4, and you'll notice by my speaking that I said I liked him. Yeah, past tense. Yeah. He was an interesting character. I think he was a good use of this early to middle time.
Yeah, I agree.
We're positioning Joe into a bit more of a Dexter type category where he has a code of conduct.
Yeah, though it doesn't feel as deliberate as Dexter.
Oh, sure.
Like, he's still not going out looking for people to murder, but, like, he was worried for Ellie.
Mm-hmm. So he does have that moral compass, but...
He has his own moral code.
Mm-hmm. Believe me, I'm not trying to manipulate this into, like, Joe's really the hero. Hear me out. Like...
No. He's definitely not the hero.
I'm just saying it makes it interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure this won't surprise you, but I fucking love 40.
No, yeah, he's hilarious. I agree.
He's so, I mean, in reality, he's awful. And also, this may or may not surprise you, but I kind of can't stand love.
Well, I mean, it's a little surprising just because Victoria Pedretti is so charming.
Yeah.
But I like
this
love,
bitch.
I think, more than you do, but I do agree. She is a lot. And she's coming at it from like so many angles with him. Like she's coming on so strong in so many ways.
I definitely don't dislike her. I'll put it that way. Because, God, all through episode 3, all of her like very overt flirtations.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember the word. It was a pastry they were talking about. And he was like, it's too wet. And she's like, there's no such thing as too wet. Good night. Like,
well, that's the part I think that's the weirdest, because they like both decided to just be friends. And then they're having this like over the top, like sexual flirtation.
She is throwing herself at him.
Yeah. In a way that is not very 2020, if we're being honest.
The thing is, she also reminds me so much of a friend of mine who I won't mention for obvious reasons, but no, I don't dislike her. I really don't. But and she seems like a good person, and she seems like a nice person. She's just so clueless in a very, what I feel like is authentic LA kind of way.
Yes. Well, and also she is like very privileged. Like her parents are rich.
I hope we meet Dottie, and
I would like to meet the parents that named their children Love and 40 as well.
Yeah.
But I think I think that's a huge part of it too, because a part of the reason that even though he makes mistakes, part of the reason that Joe is as savvy as he is and can read people the way he does is because he didn't have that veil of wealth when he was growing up. And the glimpses we are getting of his childhood are a lot.
I mean, I kind of assumed
that his mother was a prostitute?
Well, I guess I didn't assume that his mother was a prostitute, but that, I mean, the cigarette burns from the stepdad. It's like, I kind of, they're going real tropey with his like flashbacks in a way that I'm fine with it. Certainly just as watching my nighttime soap operas and all that. But I am at a point where I'm kind of like, but is this offensive? Like, what is this? What does this say about abuse? Like about people who are abused? Like people who are hurt?
Not everybody who's abused ends up doing stuff like that. So yeah, I agree. But it is, an easy shorthand, I guess.
Well, and it's the thing we say semi-frequently where we're like, it's not an excuse, it's an explanation. And so it's like, well, also another thing, I mean, you just said it's like all elephants are gray, but not all gray things are elephants.
Exactly.
So it's like, just because you're abused doesn't mean you're going to be like a crazy killer, but most people who are crazy killers were abused.
Exactly.
You know me, and anyone listening to this more than this episode knows me, that I do, from a purely fantasy place, fall for all of Joe's bullshit. Like,
oh, for sure.
As far as I'm concerned, he's like the dream man.
Well, because you're also, part of it is like but maybe I could fix him.
Yeah.
Like maybe I could be the one.
Like,
he's trying. He just hasn't tried me yet. I'm the one that can do it.
And oh my God, the scene where he was like interrogating Hendy wearing the Chris D'Elia mask.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. It's like, I feel like I know what everyone else was feeling while watching Cats.
Oh. That's fair.
I think we've already mentioned this, and we'll probably mention it a few more times, but it does never cease to amaze me how bad he is at being bad.
So bad.
He's constantly botching these things.
Like the Roomba got all in his blood. I mean, like...
Well, that was hilarious, the Roomba, because it was a running joke, because remember, it was one of Hendy's bits.
Yeah.
But for me, I thought, how was the Roomba not helping the situation by making a bigger mess? You would think a bigger mess would.
Well, no, because if his blood got in it, they can tell if there's two different people's blood.
But I mean, wouldn't they have to test the spot that has the one drop? Or is it like...
If it's in there, they will know.
I don't believe that, but
and okay. Especially, I promise. Especially if the Roomba mixed it all together, then his drop of blood is contaminating the whole thing. And they can pull DNA from that.
I mean,
I'm the murder person.
I'm saying I believe that could. I am saying I think it's highly improbable because I don't think it's like magnetic. I don't think like the second.
It's not magnetic, but if you test a blood sample, you can tell how many different people have blood in the sample. And the only issue I take with it is that, as far as we know, Joe is not in the system anywhere, so it wouldn't find him anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I just sort of feel like if you take a sample of lake water and someone peed in the lake on the other side of it, you're not going to get their urine in.
Well, pee is not the same as blood.
Okay, if somebody bled in a lake.
I mean, I will allow you to be skeptical, but a lake is also way bigger than a pile of someone else's blood.
Yeah, but it also was a drop. Like, okay, regardless. To me, it seemed like the Roomba was doing him a favor, but I guess not. And so that cop that like tried to write him up for jaywalking, that was shoddy writing. Sorry, but I was like, come on. I don't know. Maybe LA cops suck. I don't know. But that's guy.
There's so much space. Who knows?
That's the guy who's banging Delilah, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
That's why it's shoddy writing. We have to get there.
Mm-hmm. We kind of glossed over Love and 40, but they are codependent as fuck.
I mean, they're twins, so I kind of get it.
What was the word that they used?
Oh, shit. It was like twins or something.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't remember. It was pretty good, though, because she was like, you only call that when you're the one being shitty, basically.
Yeah, it was funny. And actually, so far I'm a little bummed that her friends are as dull as they are.
Yeah, me too, because like Peach and the others were so much more dynamic, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I would really have thought with Melanie Fields that it would be.
We might get there, I don't know, but I'm like, we're 4 episodes in. You know what I mean?
Like, exactly.
At this point, Peach had 2 episodes left, you know? But I do like that it seems like they actually have a relatively healthy relationship with each other and love. Yeah. Because Lucy was the one who like told 40 to knock it off.
Yeah, I did like that too, especially because as much as we love Shay Mitchell and Peach, she was also very codependent and also like hard in love with Beck in a way that was like icky.
That. Yeah.
And so it was like very, and so these feel like actual real friends. And I think that that's such an interesting way to play a season 2 because it would be shitty if Love's friends were exactly the same, but like the fact that Joe is actively trying to be different than he was with Beck is also very interesting, and the friends I think go to that.
That's a good
because he's been a couple of times like, am I gonna have to take care of your friends? And then they actually say something like nice and legitimate, and he's like, oh, this is like how it should be. And I think that's a good point because
he was quote unquote trying to be a better person with Beck.
Yeah.
But it's like now he's like trying to be a better, like, I guess it's what we talk about because I've asked you as the murder expert, I've asked you a lot about the differences between psychopaths and sociopaths and stuff. And it's like, it feels like he is more sociopathic where he does not have it, but he understands the norms and is attempting to create them.
Yeah, so I would say he's more of a sociopath, but I'm not 100% on the difference. I think that sociopaths are less prone to violent outbursts. So it's like he could kind of be both.
Yeah.
But he's not planning it.
Yeah, my understanding was very like a psychopath, like literally just, it's got nothing. They've got nothing there. And a sociopath was capable of infiltrating society and, like, in a way that a psychopath can't.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, the fact that he is actually attempting to be a decent person. But he's also, manipulative with himself and like denial and all those things. Oh, yeah. So I guess it does bring me to what has become my favorite aspect of the show. And surprisingly, my favorite character of the show is OG Will.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I have liked Robin Lord Taylor for like a long time. He's in that movie Accepted, where like Justin Long starts his own college.
With Blake Lively's original nose.
Yeah, and I have always thought he was like a lot of fun, and we watched the first couple seasons of Gotham, and he's the Penguin. But I think he is inspired in roles like this that give him a little more nuance to play with.
Well, and it's touching on something, I mentioned it in our episodes 1 and 2 coverage, and I know that I talked about it when we talked about season 1, and I'm aware that I was struggling a little bit with how to explain myself. But when I said that I wished more people were just okay with what he was doing, that's not what I meant. What I meant was that I think something like Stockholm Syndrome is something that could only benefit a show like this at this point.
Yeah.
And I think that is a little bit more common than we would like to believe, and TV writers think. I think a lot of TV writers expect for most people to be like, you're a monster, I'm leaving,
sure.
And it's like,
no, totally.
I like this notion that OG Will would actually have a bond with him and would potentially even stick with him. Like once Joe lets him out, he would not turn on him. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that is the type of thing where because Beck was the opposite way, because she was like, she almost got him to believe her and was like, I won't tell anybody, I swear. And then she was like, fuck you, I'm gonna absolutely tell people, and he obviously knew she was gonna lie. But I find it interesting that in his trying to be a better person, he is trusting more, which I find fascinating, because it's not like a psychopath's or a sociopath's strong suit, trusting other people. And so I did also find that very interesting, that he was like, all right, I believe that you won't tell anyone. And I do believe that OG Will won't tell anyone,
it's
to be
not
honest.
At this point.
Yeah, certainly not right now. Maybe when he finds out that he did kill Henderson, he might, but I don't know. I was very into the whole thing.
It's going to really depend what they end up doing with her, but I love Candace, because I knew that he was like, I'm at a smoke show. I was like, it's fucking Candace. I was
as soon as I wasn't expecting it until he said, I met this great girl, I need her to come back with us. And I was like, fuck me up, it's Candace. And then she was like, my name's Amy. And I was like, no, it's not.
So, yeah, I already name dropped Ingrid Goes West. It was like a weird gem of a movie that we watched and reviewed in 2017. It was on Hulu for a while. I don't still know if it's there, but this is giving me...
Did it come out in 2017?
Yeah.
Okay, then we didn't talk about it until 2018.
Okay, well, I mean, like January of 2018.
Sure.
And this is giving me that with murder.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like those vibes, only murder instead of just crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say, because as much as you keep anticipating murder in Ingrid Goes West, we don't actually go there.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
kind of.
There's no actual murder.
Right? Oh, yeah, no. There's
I don't think so.
So, do you have anything else to say about those 2 episodes?
Not really. I mean, apparently Joe is just dynamite in the sack, though.
I can believe that. He's skinny.
He just
you gotta look out for the skinny guys.
He's really good at getting these girls all the way there in a way that I think a sociopath wouldn't care about other people's pleasure.
But I understand that what you just said checks, but Joe, I feel like, wants to be needed.
That's fair.
Wants to be wanted.
Yeah, actually, you're correct. That's fair.
Because I remember the first time he had sex with Beck, it was less than a minute.
It was. It really was.
So, because that meme that was going around on New Year's Eve, it was like, if you start blank at this time, that by New Year's Eve, blank will happen.
Yeah.
And they were like, if you start watching the sex scene in You at
11:59.
Yeah, 11:59 and 40 seconds.
Nice.
But yeah, I did shit. I didn't write it down. I took a picture of it. My phone is not in the room with me. I laughed out loud at Chris D'Elia's delivery of the line when he was kicking everybody out of the party.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm over 30. I'm down a nut. Something.
Yeah.
And And I was just like, ain't that the truth?
Yeah, hashtag mood, am I right?
Then I also wrote down that the improv group was called Trigger Warning, and I just like, the secondhand embarrassment. The third-hand embarrassment.
Yeah, third-hand embarrassment. The other one was called, like, when Joe was trying to infiltrate the one guy, the other one was called, like, wolf jizz or something. It just feels so real.
There's a point where I'm like, I could never move to LA. I was like, I would just get swallowed up. Like, I would be so at the bottom rung. And watching this, I'm like, I would do fine. I would rise to the middle real quick.
I was gonna say, I feel like you'd adapt.
Yeah. I wouldn't be anywhere near the top, but I'd certainly find a nice little perch in the middle. But
float around.
Okay, well, we'll check back in after 5 and or 6. So Joe goes on a weekend retreat with Love's family. Her parents are throwing a wellness welkin.
There was so much happening. Not the least of which we can get right off the bat. Their mother is played by Saffron Burrows, who we love so much.
I saw her name in the credits and I just gasped because I was like, she's Dottie.
Yeah.
Their father wasn't anybody that I knew, though.
He's like been in stuff, but I don't have like enough knowledge about him.
Okay. So I wrote down some random notes and I wrote down some talking points. My talking points are Love's parents and then Candace and
just
Joe.
The word yikes in Love's parents and just the word yikes in exclamation points.
I have Candace and Joe. I have plotting. I have Love and her mom and 40 and the au pair. So yeah. We got a lot.
So, yeah, it was a real lot. Also, I posted on Twitter, I was like, something makes me feel, I was like, I started getting a vibe off of Love and 40, like, all of a sudden. And I was like a Lannister vibe. Like, does anybody else feel like a Lannister vibe? And a mutual of ours on Twitter, Cooking with Grief, said 100%. About 6 episodes or so in, after you meet the parents, I actually turned and said, every member of that family has fucked everyone else. And I just was like, yeah, I could see it happening.
I'm not going that far, but...
I'm not actually going that far, but it was very, very...
Because actually, to be perfectly honest, this is one of the times that I wasn't really getting that. Because I think... I think Love's relationship with 40 is too dysfunctional for them to be having sex.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I think if they were having sex, they would have a slightly more functional relationship, sibling relationship.
That's fair. That's fair.
40 continues to be shockingly one of my favorite characters because he's a pain in the ass. Like, he's so annoying.
Okay. Yes. But I agree. I think he might be my favorite now, too. And it is specifically because his problems are not his fault. Because he's an addict. And so, yes, he's like over the top Los Angeles. And he's like, you know, a sort of low-level douchebag. But he absolutely doesn't deserve whatever is about to come at him. Because I think he's, like, at his heart, a nice person who cares about other people. He just is, like, wrapped up in the trust fund kid Los Angeles of it all. And so because I started thinking at the end of episode 6, I was like, poor 40 is going to get so murdered.
Why?
Well, I mean, he is going out of his way to, like, help Joe. So I guess I'm not sure, but... And especially because this is not taking the same, track as season 1. So maybe he won't, but, like, I'm worried for him.
That was an elephant in the room for me going into the season I was like, so are we just going to carbon copy season 1? Which I didn't think we were going to do. But I'm at a position now where I'm like, who and how many of these people are in mortal danger? And... sometimes I play, we've talked about this with some of our more, like, you know, Riverdale coverage and stuff, but Which, side note, apparently people don't like Riverdale. Like, hard don't like it. That was shocking to me, but...
I don't know how to hear that.
Because it got renewed, and I counted, by the time I got to 17 tweets, I just got it, yeah. But regardless, with a show like this, I tend to think of it like a game of chess, and I'm like, how could you shock us, the audience?
Right.
And so I was actually kind of in a place where I'm like, well, maybe nothing will happen. Maybe it'll just be all drama, or certainly minimal, like Indy, stuff like that. Are we going to put him in a more Dexter-like place? And frankly, I didn't mean to steer this breakneck away from 40 and into Candace, but I am actually loving this game of chicken that the two of them are playing.
Will was cooking dinner while I was watching these episodes, and I think it was either the end of episode 5 or the beginning of episode 6, and Candace and 40 came into the kitchen and were like, we're actually adapting this other book now. And I was like, oh my God, you cunt, out loud. Because I was like, she definitely found Beck's book and is doing that. I was like, you are amazing. So like, even though they're so different and I like them in different ways, Candace and 40 are my favorites right now.
And even just that scene she had with Joe at the end of season 5, where it was almost a truce.
Sorry, you keep saying season.
Sorry, episode 5.
Episode 5.
Where it was almost a truce. It certainly wasn't, because they ended, but they actually were having kind of a conversation about it. And it's like, and this is something that I've already said once or twice in this specific coverage, but I think it's exposing this weird reality to humanity that I think a lot of this stuff is actually just under the surface for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like that Candace has taken this, because they did... The show is doing a really good job of covering their bases, because they're explaining why she's taken this into her own hands.
Yes, that scene with the cop was
And to make it a female cop was very interesting. Like... Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What I like the best is actually the juxtaposition between Candace and Joe, because she's doing the same thing as him, but somehow she's doing it even worse. Like, even more badly, because, like, she's telling lies that are so easy to fact check in a way that Joe really does his research. Even though he is, like, inept. He still does his research.
I thought she should have made her name Amy Adams, because that way when you Googled her, you only got Amy Adams.
I think it was because it's so close, you would still only get Amy Adams. Yeah.
Okay. Part of me was like, go ahead and make it Amy Adams, because I was like, I never thought about that if you're trying to be anonymous, to go with a famous name. That's kind of hilarious. And I think because obviously we're not getting her inner monologue, because it's like all of the stuff that Joe is doing is so unbelievably skeevy and at times downright evil on paper, but it's like we're getting his mind frame.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and this is pure fantasy for me, so back off, everybody, but he's my hero. You know, I'm actively rooting for him through so much of the show. And I mentioned this on our last coverage, but I am actually loving what's the word? Oh my God. Like a good, there's a fancy word for like a good match or a good partner. Not a foil, but I love I love how good she is, because it's like, she's kind of an idiot. Like on the surface, she seems like the worst person, but then whenever you actually corner her with reality, she's kind of amazing.
Yeah, because she again is like a very LA person who, and she feels like she wants to constantly present a like sunny disposition, but there's some steel under there.
Yeah, like when she took control of this of the situation at the end of episode 6, which I mean I wasn't quite there yet, but there's a handful of times where she like it's almost like I'm waiting for her to be like, I know you killed that guy. Please, do you think I'm an idiot? Like,
yeah, I was gonna say earlier too, when you were talking about how they could shock us and how it needs to be different from season 1. I was like, well, we're already different because we're more than halfway through, and Joe has killed like 40% less people.
That's true.
He's only killed the one person, so 2, I guess. Shit.
Well, the one was
still
who was the 2, yeah.
Jasper and Henderson.
I was gonna say Jasper was a Russian mafia dude.
Yeah, so he's fine.
That doesn't count.
He's like Paco's stepdad.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised at how much I really do like Ellie and Delilah. I think. Whether it's the writing or the actresses, but I think in less deft hands, those two characters would be insufferable.
Oh, for sure. I think it's the writing and the actresses.
Okay.
I mean, they're getting good material, but I think there's a lot that they're imbuing into it. I mean, especially Delilah, who I have not been wild about the whole time.
She came on strong, but
she's doing a lot with the role, and she's handling it in a way that is wouldn't be my first instinct.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that a lot. And I like Ellie and Joe's weird little relationship is pretty cute too.
Because we've talked about this before, but like not even quite brassy, but like chip on their shoulder female characters are really tricky to pull off with like charm, and they're both managing to do it. And I especially love the handful because Ellie is so Lolita, she's so wise beyond her years. I love the handful of moments where her actual innocence, her actual age shows. Like she gets surprised or her feelings hurt or something, because I think it was even like with the phone, like when he threw the phone off the roof, and she seemed genuinely shocked and upset.
Like sad, like no one had ever done something like that to her
feelings.
Before. I also, on a different vein than that, but in the I think the 6th episode, she was like trying to get him to stay to watch a movie, and he was like, do you have popcorn? And she was like, yeah, I'm not a monster. And that was another one where I was like, yeah, like 15-year-old girls like to eat popcorn.
She had a couple. I laughed when she called Delilah, when she called her sister Jessica Jones. There was a couple of those where she was like, easy Jessica Jones. But
that was good too. Will laughed out loud when she was like, sorry, Delilah's going through something, also she's just a bitch. I was like, I mean, you're not wrong.
We are jumping around, but I did write on my note how well plotted it was, and in my opinion, it's pretty. I mean, I still have the thrill of the first viewing. Maybe some of this would fall apart under repeat viewings under scrutiny. But so far, it's all checking. Like how they explained how Candace was able to find him. I was like, you know what? That actually works. Like,
fine. I'm fine.
It makes the most sense, I think, because of his trajectory, maybe his placement to fame. Because it would be too much if he like found a famous girlfriend, but just having her have money that puts them in conjunction with famous people, and it's like,
and it's not even like Henderson's not even like a huge deal. He's like probably like a C-list comedian, but it's like enough that it would be on a trashy show that Candace would definitely be watching.
Kathy Griffin was delivering his eulogy. Although
that's true,
she is famous not for her A-list caliber.
She's famously a D-lister.
So she's one of those like wonderfully game people that just shows up. I find Love's Friends to still be a little dull. It feels like a missed opportunity. But
I agree. I feel like maybe because there's more people in Joe's direct circle, like instead of just having Beck, we have Love and 40 and Delilah and Ellie, and I feel like there's not space for the friends, but in that case I sort of wish she just didn't have any friends. Because they're not getting what they deserve the way that Peach and the other ones did, because Joe had nobody in New York and he has sort of stumbled into this ready-made family in California.
I mean, there are 4 more episodes, and we also don't know where season 3 is going, because I depending on what they do, I would be okay staying in this story. Or even moving away from it and coming back to it at a later time. I don't know. I'm curious what kind of life this show will have. Before I forget, though, I do want to say that we did finally see relatively what happened between him and Candace. Man, a flight of stairs. It's his, not quite his nemesis, maybe his best accomplice. How many people has he knocked down a flight of stairs? But
that's a good point.
The Candace thing, it's so weird where the lines are. Because I talk about how life is not black and white in ways we like to pretend it is. And where exactly I find that he crossed the line, because it's like, obviously, if you're having to tie someone up, you have crossed a line.
You have crossed a line, for sure.
I don't know what his end game was there with her. And I wish she had actually just fallen, because they made it seem like he was shaking her and like hit her head. And I really wish she had just fallen. But I mean, here I am still trying to make excuses for him. But
well, no, I mean, I know what you're saying, but I think it's important because she is, I mean, he's obviously terrible, but she is truly convinced that he was intending to murder her. And it doesn't, from everything we know about him, he's very rarely intending to murder people, specifically women. So I don't think I think it's wise that he did end up being the impetus for her injury and everything, because she can believe that he was trying to murder her at the same time that he can be like, it was all an accident.
Yeah. I get that. I was just going to say the thing that got me, like, I actually gasped, and it was the way that the information was revealed. But it was when I realized that he buried her alive, and she woke up and dug herself out of her shallow grave. I was like, that was a good enough, and the way that they gave us information, that was a good enough justification for how she would get to this place, like how she would get to this vigilante place.
She truly thinks that he tried to murder her and then buried her. And so it's the type of thing
where... And the cops told her she was shit out of luck.
Yeah, just basically stay dead is what that cop told her. And so that's what I think is so interesting about the show and the way that they, like, play the people off each other and everything, is because she can believe with all of her might that that is what happened, and he can just as easily believe that it was an accident and he was trying to cover up his tracks, which, like, who amongst us would not if they murdered somebody by accident, you know? And so it's the type of thing that I love, that they are both not totally right and not totally wrong in this instance specifically. Because it, like, for him, it was just like an accident that got out of control. And for her, it was like an attempted murder, like I said. So I don't know. I really find it interesting the way that they are juxtaposing those things together.
So then in episode 6, I do like Delilah. I love that Delilah keyed right in on her. She was like, my bullshitometer's going, like, pinging off the charts. And so she tried to break into his apartment, and then hilariously, because he figured that out, he tried to break into her, like, B&B, I guess.
Yeah, like an Airbnb, yeah.
To kill her.
Yeah.
So he will when need be, and then gets his ass beaten by Madeline Zima. That was so funny. Very,
very funny. I appreciated the Madeline Zima of it all as well.
She's gigging. She looks great.
She looks amazing.
Yeah, I'm all for
rocking a caftan.
I'm all for her showing up as the dominatrix, and because didn't he say something about, like, I'm not about to slut shame the sex worker? Like,
yeah,
it was really good. This is an instance where I think the phrasing of sex worker is appropriate.
No, yeah, for sure.
Because we go back and forth with it, and I'm like,
well, okay, I took your point about Grisabella from Cats. She's a prostitute. Fine. Madeline Zima is a sex worker. I get it.
But yeah, so that was just all very funny. And so, right. So Love, oh God, yeah, I also loved Love's bullshitometer was pinging left and right with Candace.
Yeah,
I also think it's interesting because
she's just not as naive as Beck in a way that's very refreshing.
Yeah. But again, like, to repeat what I said earlier, but I love that she sort of leads, like, you feel like she's an idiot because she's hippy dippy, but it's like, still waters can run deep, like,
for sure.
And so she hired a PI, and I loved that conversation, how nonchalant she was about it, and he was kind of like, you hired a PI?
Yeah.
And she was just like, when you've got money, it's something you gotta do.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, you never know, because she thought that Candace was, like, just after 40's money. Yeah, I dug it. You know what else what I didn't dig?
What?
Love's bangs in the past.
Oh my God. They had to differentiate somehow.
No, I know, but they were so much bangs.
It was nice, those flashback scenes.
Yeah.
I don't have any strong feelings about them. Do you feel like we're getting more, or was that just informing her character?
I'm not sure, because we already knew that about her, but I don't know. It was weirdly focused on having children in a way that, like, worried me. I kind of hope we get more, because otherwise it's like a weird one-off thing to have happen. But at this point, I feel like we're going to get more in a way that shows us that she's unhinged.
As you'll recall, that was my prediction with season 1, and I'm in a place where I kind of am so curious if that's where we're going with this. And it's tricky because this is the kind of thing where it's like, usually with secret shows, you're dealing with supernatural stuff, and so you want everyone on the same page. But this is the kind of show where I'm like, I don't know that would help. Although it could.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah, but Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, if everybody just sat down and laid all their cards out on the table?
I don't know about everybody, but as of now, we have two characters, one being Candace, the second one being OG Will, who I am just assuming is not in Japan. But
Manila, but...
Oh, Manila. We have two characters that are aware of what is happening, of the murder of it all. And as I said earlier, there's the kind of thing where it's like, I would not be shocked if Love was like, do you think I didn't have you, like, checked out within weeks, like, within days? Like, of course I know you killed that girl. Like, so I am just curious to see where we're going. As of now, they did break up. I am just a fan of Victoria Pedretti. I think getting this far in, I am seeing a little bit of her 24-year-old, but I think she is definitely one to watch.
Yeah, but I think some of that is, I feel like the character too. Love can't be much older than 24.
Yeah.
So
there are a weird handful of times she'll make a face and I'll think, why does she look like a corpse? And I'm like, oh, that's Nell.
Yeah. Okay. So my coworker Brian today at work, he came up to me and he was like, oh my God, my wife got me hooked on You on Netflix. We're almost done with season 2. And I was like, I literally shrieked and I was like, oh my God, I almost just reflexively hugged you because I'm so excited that you're watching it too. Because Liz doesn't like horror movies and stuff, like scary things. And so I'm surprised. And so I was just like so excited. So we were talking about that. And I was like, did you see The Haunting of Hill House? And he said, no. And I was like, well, she's like a thing in it. And it does remind me of all of her, like her moments from that. But I very specifically was like, I feel like she's looking that way sometimes on purpose because Brian was like, something feels off about her. And I was like, well, part of it's just her face. But I was like, I'm getting that vibe too, that something's off about Love. And I was like, I gotta find out what it is.
I was gonna say before we wrap up, we technically, I would say, have 2 more points, but absolutely, and I think that brings me back to we started talking about 40 and the au pair. If that's the end of it, I'm fine with that. But that also feels like something that might come back up later.
Well, okay, so that moment where she's telling the story to Joe, and she said something about they like paid her off and like we never heard from her again. I was like, I don't know.
She killed herself.
Well,
that's what Love said.
No, yeah. Okay, fine, yeah. But that's the point where I was like, I mean, did she?
Yeah,
did Love maybe help her along?
Well, Love claims that 40 found her. And I'm also like, this is not a hill that I'm going to die on by any means, but there's a part of me that I'm like, are we sure 40 isn't gay?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, he just has that energy.
He does have like a very chill Los Angeles, like pansexual kind of thing, maybe.
I think that there's more there. Basically, the story, if you were, I don't know, Rachel, and listening to this without watching it, apparently when he was like 13, the au pair who was 19, like they had like a relationship. She like... They had an ongoing thing.
She statutory raped him.
Yeah. And it's like those numbers are too far apart.
at that age.
If you want a 17 and 19, then I'll play ball, but 13 and 19 is too much.
Way too young.
And that's one of the reasons why he's kind of like...
a mess.
Frazzled. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then the last one, which I'm actually surprised it took this long, but I guess it was only really the episode 5 where I questioned it, but Joe and Delilah went at it on the floor. And she's still dealing with her thing. Her and Ellie flushed the pictures, which I don't feel strongly about either way.
I feel both ways.
I guess they wouldn't have done it if it weren't going to come back. So,
well, sure. Because I understand Ellie's point where she was like, every time these girls get Googled for the rest of their lives. And I was like, that I totally understand. On the other hand, and the fact that he's dead, so he already can't do it again.
But they do think it was a murder now.
They do think it was a murder now. But my point in destroying the pictures is he can't hurt anybody anymore. So on that hand, I understand why they flushed them as well. But also, even if you're dead, I mean, people should know what you did. Sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah.
That feels like a very strong point to take. But but that's why I'm so conflicted about them flushing the photos. I mean, on the heels of Harvey Weinstein showing up to his trial with a walker like some kind of fucking invalid. I'm in a very take no prisoners kind of place.
I remembered and then forgot again because you put that image in my head. So I did say that Love and Joe broke up, and he came relatively clean. It was a tidied explanation.
Yeah.
It
was very well plotted.
Yeah, he only took credit for going on one date with Beck. And yeah. And he did okay. No, believe me, I understand he's a bad guy. As I said, this is a fantasy. I'm coming at it from a certain angle because he did rattle off that he had killed like 6 people. And I was like, that's too many people.
Yeah, it's way too many people. 1 is an
accident. 2 is
so many people.
Coincidence. 3 is a pattern. So, okay. I think that's good. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, not right now. I am looking forward to the final 4 episodes. I mean, this just as good as season 1, I think. Different, but just as good.
Yeah, certainly in like the dishy sense. So
absolutely.
And I like the change. I like the New York to LA. Maybe we'll go to Tokyo next.
Ooh,
London
or Manila.
Paris, maybe Tokyo. Just play us out with "Wake Up" by Hilary Duff.
Jesus.
Oh my God. Okay. These were easily my 2 favorite episodes so far.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So episode 7, I broke into a couple talking points. I started with Love and Australian Milo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That dude. Holy shit. That dude. It's like somebody peeled my brain open and like designed
this
a
one,
dude
yeah. This
for
one's
me.
for you.
I couldn't, every time they showed him, it was like looking into the face of God. Like, I just was like, oh my God. Like, it couldn't have been more me. I was going to say, he didn't have any chest hair, but...
He was very pretty, though.
Yeah. As long as he's bushy and uncut, it's fine. And he's Australian. He's Australian, so the odds are good.
Chances are good.
But man, that dude. And then I thought Joe and 40 were hilarious this whole episode.
Both episodes, to be honest.
I'm not prepared to talk about episode 8 yet.
No, not yet. But their relationship is so fun to me. Like, I'm not 100% sure where it's gonna end up and like what is actually going on, but I love how much 40 loves him. And how much he doesn't care that he's a different person.
Is 40 maybe one of the greatest characters ever created?
It's certainly possible. He is so interesting in a way that like the first 3 episodes I was like, yeah, I get it, but they have deepened him in such a way that I didn't expect at first.
And it keeps going.
And it does keep going. It's like it is turtles all the way down. It's just open.
I'm glad that I'm getting what I've been asking for a season and a half, which is that I feel like more people are crazier than we all want to admit.
Yeah.
And I'm finally starting to get that. So Love was dating Milo, who was Josh. I don't know. He was
dead James, I think, but her husband's best friend.
Yeah. And I guess Milo has always been in love with her, and he's always kind of been there to like pick up the pieces, but she very much uses him.
Yeah.
And I guess we haven't seen the last of him. I don't know. I have no clue. Where this is going.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine after he said some really nasty shit to both of them and then spit on Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Quite literally. So, I don't know. I feel like he might not be welcome back.
But that was so badass, that fight that the 2 of them and then 3 of them had.
Yeah.
And this is such a frustrating show because I cannot stress how much I am on Joe's side.
No, I know.
In a way in which when the reality of the show bites me, I'm like, crap.
Yeah. Well, he just is like, the way that it's framed, he becomes very sympathetic. And you're like, yeah, love is falling for all of this bullshit. And then it's like, by the time that you realize that you get to the point where he is the bad guy, you're like, well, fuck, I'm in too deep now.
Well, but the thing is, I'm not making any predictions. Like, I'm not going to say that she's going to find out and just be okay with it. That's not what I'm going to say. But we're at the point now where it's like, love values authenticity more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, she's getting authenticity from him. Like, when he stepped up to defend her honor, it's like, that is, frankly, what she wants from someone. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not going to go as far as to say that she's going to find out that he's killed people and just be totally fine. But I think that's in the cards. I mean maybe not totally fine, but...
Something like that is in the cards.
Because also, least we forget, I mean, someone like him in another world could have been an ass. Maybe not, because he's too... I keep forgetting he's too inclined to turn on people.
He's very unpredictable if he feels he's being wronged.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, that would not be an asset in, like... in how you're talking about it, but
if we're in a Mad Max reality, it's like, I want someone who can kill people, no problem.
Sure.
But I need to trust that that's not me.
Of course, exactly.
Just the continuing adventures of his stuff, his dating. Oh God, just the dates.
It was good.
It was funny. It was funny in a slightly fresh way because we've seen the like speed dating scene. You know, it's a tired trope. And the girls that they found, the like 3 or 4 girls they found for this one, felt particularly fun. And
I especially liked the only one that actually was into books. And then she was like too into books. And she was just like sobbing in her wine.
Started gulping the wine. I like gasped. Wine is difficult to guzzle.
It really is. It's hard. It's hard to do.
It's tannic.
Very tannic, yeah. The tannins, they don't like it.
But yeah, so watching that and then this like continued relationship he has with Delilah and Ellie has been wonderful. And I am super into, well, okay, people are listening. I was super into his thing with Delilah. Like so completely. He threw up on her.
Yeah.
She totally got it. That was because I had paused it like right in the middle of that scene. So I had forgotten that he said he was sweating.
Yeah.
So I came in and just pressed play and I thought, well, he looks weird. And then he vomited all over her. And I was like, where did that come from? And just the way, like, her reaction, I forgot what she just kind of said, like, oh. Like, she was like, and it just, the way it just cut, it, like, cracked me up.
Well, and it was like also apparently 100% celery juice.
Yeah, because she knew exactly what happened because it happened to her.
Which is, it sounds awful.
It really, really does. I can't handle celery. I'm not good with it. And that just, literally any other thing. I would drink broccoli juice. Like, she submitted it. It was like an essay to Variety? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think it was more like a Ronan Farrow type of thing to Variety, like about Henderson, but yeah.
And so she was celebrating with him, and just, God, their dynamic was so good. And, like, them going on that little date, drinking the booze, and then, like, hooking up in the alley, I was just like, I was that gif from Arrested Development, the good for her.
Oh, yeah.
But about Joe.
For me, it's like, if you're gonna have full sex in an alley, at least go behind a dumpster or something.
They were like,
just not even, like, they were like 2 feet down the mouth of the alley. They weren't even, like, in the shadows.
And so they did get in trouble, and they got arrested, and Joe used his connections to get them out because Delilah's cop boyfriend was worthless. Yeah. And this brings me to the only part of the show that I actually have a little bit of a hard time with. I've been talking about how well plotted it is, and I think the cop boyfriend is, I don't know that I'm going to say sloppy, but it's like the way that he was like, wait a minute, I saw Joe carrying a bag of trash in the street the night Hendy died. He must be the killer. I was like,
no, I had that same thought. I was like, that is quite an intuitive leap. Like an aggressive intuitive leap.
So I didn't love that. And then I also didn't love how quickly Delilah, I mean, I guess it's in character for Delilah to spiral.
For me, her stuff wasn't as unbelievable because someone put the notion in her head and she was like, I imagine she was like, this dude is living in my apartment building and he is hanging out with my little sister. Why don't I just give myself some peace of mind?
Sure, but she was like combing his.
She did. She looked hard.
And furthermore, the second sloppy part was if you were to ever find a human cage in a storage unit, why would you ever step into it?
Yeah, I really feel like take your pictures from the outside and then leave as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Or like already be on the phone with 911 while you're taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Like just do something.
It was too much. And I mean, I don't know what I expect. Obviously, like we've said several times, we are viewing this experience from his inside, from his like internal monologue.
Of course.
So there's a part of me where I'm like, but go with it. He doesn't want to hurt you. And that's the thing. It's like, I kind of wanted to be like, Delilah, just be cool. He's not going to hurt you. And of course, he doesn't know that.
Yeah, we as viewers have been lulled into some sense of security because he did let the OG Will go.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not to say he didn't murder Delilah.
Well, yeah, we haven't gotten there yet, but I was going to say, we're transitioning, so that does bring us to episode 8, which, look, I know it is only January 7th, but that is easily the funniest episode of television I have seen all year. I was cackling watching that episode.
I don't remember the last time I saw such a good acid trip depicted.
No, but like from the ground up, that episode was hysterical. Because I tweeted Will, I was like, Will, you have got to watch You for the character of 40 alone.
Yeah.
I was like, and I bought into so much of it, and the way that we were just with Joe's utter exasperation, because basically he doesn't want to hurt Delilah. So he makes some kind of deal with her that he's going to lock her in the cage with timed handcuffs and set the timer for 16 hours, which gives him enough time to escape with his fake passport and all that. He just needs to tie up some loose ends and then she'll be good to go. And he truly seems to believe this, seems to be the plan. She reluctantly goes along with it. And then he and 40 are kidnapped. He thinks it's Jasper, which I assumed it was Jasper. I thought it was the Russian, the mafia.
Yeah,
and
because 40 was pulling some very Brando method acting.
Yeah. And then 40 was like, no, it's for me. I'm in bad with like a gambling addiction, blah, 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 which I was like, oh my God, that would be hilarious if like Joe ends up dying by 40s. Like, and so they get to the hostage place, and it's this swank hotel room, and it turns out that it's all a ruse that 40 has just kidnapped him so they can have like a writer's retreat. And it was so funny. Ellie was there for half of it, and the guards were like armed. They're like, you're not getting out of here. And so Ellie shows up like
they were going to shoot them.
Yeah, like it's a day for work. And they write this script that apparently Catherine Bigelow wants. And Ellie tears it apart, rightfully so. And 40 absolutely hits the fucking wall. I thought he had committed suicide for a second.
Me too, for real. I was like, what the fuck? I literally was like, how is Joe gonna explain this to Love?
And he's already written her a like very sweet goodbye note and put it in her locker. Oh, and meanwhile, she's been kidnapped by her mother because her mother needs, I don't know, proof of... Well, her mother was like trying to get back at their dad or something.
Well, the dad was cheating, and she was like, we need to prove that we're a good family to him so he'll stop again. Yeah. And I just like... And then she said a whole bunch of nonsense about whenever your kids need you like this, it's easier not to hate them or something. The way she phrased it was really shitty. And I was like, good Lord.
It was weird, but it turns out 40 did not kill himself. He just jumped into the dumpster that he knew was there.
I hope,
so he could go to a bar and get drunk. And he apparently has like the tolerance of a stallion. He drank like an entire bottle of tequila and then indecent proposaled a married couple at the bar, like full psycho, like full.
That scene was so interesting to me because of the way that Joe saw it. Because he was like, they haven't even, it's still their wedding night and he ruined their marriage.
Yeah, he's already
and it was like just for shits.
He paid the groom $10,000 to properly kiss the bride.
Yeah.
And she went with it because they had debt.
I mean, who amongst us would not?
we know your stance on this. It is documented.
If somebody indecent proposed my husband for me to wipe out all our debt, I would try to convince him.
At the very least, it's something he would have to think about and discuss with you.
With me, yes. He would need to discuss it with me before he said no.
Yeah, but you wouldn't. Anyways, this is a different conversation. And 40 just kind of went steely. It was really weird. And it made me like him more, but in a different way. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It was an interesting piece of acting from an actor who we've only really seen do one thing this season so far, like 2 at the most. So it was an interesting piece of acting, and it was an interesting shade to the character where it's like, oh, he can get nasty. He's choosing to be this yuppie hippie guy.
And here's my thing. I'm actually fine that he's not gay. I'm not trying to make him gay. If anything, I a little bit like a flamboyant heterosexual character.
Sure.
Having said that, did you keep waiting for him to kiss Joe?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
I was like, what's going on?
Whenever there's 2 hot dudes on my TV screen, I'm always waiting for them to kiss a little bit.
It was so much. And so Joe's like, that's it, I'm leaving. And 40's like, well, I dosed you with 4 doses of LSD, so good luck. Because it was going to help their writer's weekend.
Well, and my favorite part was he was like, I don't know how much you trip, so I gave you 4. And Joe was like, I've never done acid. And he was like, okay, you're going to be okay. Here's a couple ground rules. And I just was like, yikes.
Okay, a little anecdote. I have, on occasion, done some light recreational drug use, some drugs. And one time with some people, my brother and some people, I took what I thought was Molly, what I was told was Molly. And I was like, whatever, it'll be a fun night. And I later found out that it was actually acid. And I had a bad trip.
Yeah.
And is what happened when it kicked in for me was I was talking to Corey and her eyes got real big. And then her head got really big and started turning different colors.
Oh,
and that's when I freaked out. I freaked out. And she was the only one who could calm me down. And it was so funny because she was like trying to help me. This was like back in 2013. And she was like, put on something he likes. And she was like, put on Teen Wolf. And my brother was like, don't put on Teen Wolf.
Put on Teen Wolf. Jesus Christ.
My brother was like, oh my God. No. He was like, put on Saturday Night Live. Put on SNL. And so she talked me off the ledge, but it was so funny to me because back to You on Netflix, season 2, Joe runs into Love at the hotel lobby because she knew they were there on the writer's weekend, and she's pouring her heart out to him, and her eyes just get huge.
Huge. So
it was so funny. That is exactly what it's like.
I have never done acid, so I don't know about that. I only know about a story that my sociology professor told us in college where he took acid and saw the devil in the corner.
Yeah, no.
I was like, I don't want any part of that.
Unless he's singing Robin, I don't want it.
No, he definitely didn't.
And so he proceeded to trip balls. And so 40 at one point accidentally blurts out that there was the safe word.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something with Mama Rue.
Yeah, like RuPaul.
Yeah, I knew all that, but I don't remember what the safe word was. We also forgot Gabe. Gabe did something to Joe / Will back.
Gabe let some demons out with acupuncture and a hot stone in the center of the chest, and Joe had an experience.
It seems like he had almost, he'd kind of, if not fixed him, certainly got him on a direction.
Yeah, definitely. I think the acid maybe didn't help.
Yeah, no, apparently not. And so Joe blacked out a couple times. He had missing time, but he came to, and 40 had solved the crime, the Beck story.
Yeah.
He had figured out that it wasn't the doctor, it wasn't John Stamos.
Well, I think
it was...
the ex-boyfriend, yeah, which is Joe.
He was like, there was an ex-boyfriend she mentions a couple times, and he literally pieced it all together, because I love that Joe was like, man, you're a savant when you're high.
Yeah.
And 40 just sort of unraveled on the floor about how he related to this person because he killed the au pair, which we were like, something's coming back with that story.
Well, I thought Love killed the au pair.
So did my mom. My mom was like, duh. And I was like, oh, no. So you two were on the same page, but no, it was 40. And at least the parents know. I don't know if Love knows.
I'm not sure either. I would be curious to find out.
Because if she does, then that only supports my thing that she might just be fine with Joe. I don't know.
Correct.
We'll have to see.
Yes. Yeah.
As it was wrapping up, it ends with like Joe and 40 having this profound moment where like Joe gets on the ground with him. He was actually prepared to kill him. I was like, it was going.
He had like a broken vase in his hand.
Yeah. And then it just ended in this like pieta of like Joe cradling, sobbing 40. And I was like, what the fuck is this show? It's so good.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, Joe went back to the cage where Delilah was locked up, and she was presumably dead. And I think it's safe to say she was. It was very bloody, and there was a body on the floor.
A lot of blood and a body on the floor. The only way it could come around is if somehow they're trying to entrap him, like she was able to get her phone and they like staged something, because we did see it from far away. But I think that might just be wishful thinking on my part.
Yeah, because I'll accept it because that's the nature. I mean, that's the contract we enter into with this show.
Yeah.
But I liked Delilah and she didn't deserve this.
Correct.
And no one has deserved it, but they have at least, most of the people have succumbed to the scary movie rules.
Sure. Most everybody has succumbed to that, but I agree with you. I don't think Delilah did.
So I'm prepared for her to actually be dead, but there's an element where I'm like, that was a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
We did not see her face. Maybe there is something else. And or if she's dead, I don't think he killed her, because I don't think that's how they would have shown us that. I think someone else might have.
Well, that is the thing that I'm not sure about, because yes, he had missing time and he thought he saw blood on his hands, but that I feel like all wraps it up a little too neatly in a bow. If it was actually him. And
then I had to stop like a fucking peasant in the 90s and wait 24 full hours.
I have to have a job, man.
It's fine. It's called growth. But let's just say I relate to 40 a little bit.
I get it. I super get it. I mean, I feel like it wouldn't be a compelling show if you didn't at least partially relate to some of the characters. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't see yourself in anybody, it's no fun to watch.
Well, we're gonna watch 9 and 10, and then talk about it when it's over.
Hey.
My stomach's making noises because I had McDonald's. I had a bad day, and then I did 2 for $5, and then French fries.
That'll happen.
And so now my stomach is like, and I'm afraid it's going to pick up. Yeah, we're back. We just watched 9 and 10. I watched it last night, and then I watched it again with you just now. And thanks, I hate it.
I was going to say, it sounds like you didn't like it at all.
No. I mean...
Okay, can we just do 100% full spoilers so I can ask you why I think you don't like it?
Sure.
Is it because they killed 40?
That's a big element of it. I'm not trying to oversell. I didn't hate it. I just... Because Will asked, he was like, how was it? And I was like, I didn't love it. I was like, it felt like one too many things.
Okay.
I was like, there was one twist, and then there was like... It's not even that there were 3 twists, but it was like there was one twist and then there was like 7 quarter twists. Okay. And it just like, it went to like a jump the sharky place for me where I'm absolutely going to watch the next season. Because I think it's already gotten picked up.
I'm not sure. Probably.
It's a huge hit. Yeah. So I'd be shocked. So I'm definitely going to watch next season, but the finale does bring the whole season down a few points for me. Whereas as of episode 8, I was like, this is one of my favorite seasons of a TV show.
Yeah.
So, did you not have any issues with it, or?
I mean, I have issues with it, but I really was enjoying it the whole time. I mean, even I made a couple of comments, especially the like very last thing where he has spotted yet another girl that he's gonna just like bring into his web of horribleness.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of liked the way that this ended somehow through sheer luck in his favor, and he's mad about it.
It's almost like he's crazy. That's
he's
the problem.
Super crazy.
That's the problem. I'm watching a different show. It's like I'm trying.
That's your fault.
No, I know, but it's like I can handle all the murder, but it's like.
No, but he's like legitimately he has mental probs.
And I do love how much she called him the fuck out too.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
It's not even so much that I'm mad that they killed 40, which I mean I am, but it's like he turned in. It's like Rian Johnson did episode 7 and 8, and then J.J. Abrams did 9 and 10, where it's just it felt like they just kind of rewrote him. Because it was like...
Joe or 40?
40.
Okay.
It was like 11 hours ago, you were crying on the floor with him, confessing to murder and about how the two of you were brothers that shared a bond. And now you are so prepared to shoot him in the head, stone sober.
I mean, he got like pretty legit confirmation that Joe has killed every girl he's ever been with. And he didn't know how crazy love was.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't... It felt weird. It felt weird to me.
I can see that it was, I mean, I understand that it's like a little bit.
Because he was speaking to Love at the end, where he was talking about how he knew that she was crazy too, and everybody thinks he's an idiot. I don't know. I didn't love it. And to be quite honest, it's, like I said, it's a part of me that I guess didn't fully realize what show I was watching, because I'm honestly still bummed about Delilah.
Delilah, I think, is the one that is the most tragic this season, for sure. Because she just didn't deserve it, like we talked about.
Yeah. It's what we said on our last chunk, where we were like, in season 1, nobody deserves to die, but they were making scary movie sins. They were committing scary movie sins where they were like, as a viewer watching that sort of thing, it's like, don't go upstairs, don't go into the garage alone. And so it's like, you don't feel quite as bad for them. Where in this one, it's like, both Delilah and, I mean, I guess not 40, because it felt weird. Both times, because I watched it twice, it just felt that standoff at the end felt out of character to me.
I mean, I would argue that it felt a little out of character for Joe, too. Although, what was so interesting to me about him is that he was very prepared to accept his fate instead of being trapped with Love. He was like, please shoot me in the head instead of what's happening to me.
I'm definitely down to watch another season, because it's like, depending on where they go with this, because, as is the last shot of the season, he appears to have moved on to someone else, to the next door neighbor, and he's living
who is married.
And he's living in a house with a very pregnant Love, probably his baby, who knows?
Yeah, okay, that was one of the things where, like, you talked about too many twists. I could have used one more, which is that it was actually 40's baby, because they were using some language in that standoff scene, and I was like, she's saying things deliberately that sound like it could mean our baby in a different way. And I was like, ugh, and then they didn't. So it was like, fine, but it was like, you're already so twisty, I could go either way with this.
And the continued presence of Saffron Burrows, it got better, believe it or not.
It did. It really did. She's amazing.
The scene she had with Joe in their like swank mansion house thingy. But yeah, so depending on where this goes, I'm not off the train. It just, like I said, it tarnished it a little bit. I didn't love, for my taste, it didn't stick the landing exactly.
I get it.
But I did still enjoy it, and I do like the idea of him being trapped in this relationship and wanting out and having like a fatal attraction, but they're both crazy.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that's so fun is I would argue at this point, she is crazier than he is.
Why?
Because I don't
disagree. Just why? What it would?
Maybe it's just because of the way it's framed, where he is still our hero, and we like sort of automatically feel a little bad for him for being in this situation he doesn't want to be in. But she feels so much more deliberate about it than he does.
I think it's because we spend so much time in his head. We don't have
That
her
could
POV
be.
where he's
That could
constantly
be.
rationalizing things. Because you said
Sure.
you laughed out loud and you were like, I love his like train of thought, the way that he
Yeah.
rationalizes everything that goes on. But
He's always justifying his actions. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that is why. But it just was that moment where she was like, I did it all for you, baby. And he was just like, oh no.
no, it's something
It's
that you
hilarious.
said. It's something that you said last year that I wish we could turn into a soundbite, because I've listened to it back a couple times and it always makes me laugh. But it was when you were so flustered describing the last episode, or second to last episode of Game of Thrones.
Oh.
And you were talking about Daenerys, and she
Yeah.
was like, am I your queen? And he was like, yes, my queen. And then you were like, am I only your queen? And
Yeah.
like that, and just on a dime. It's like, that's what
Sure.
she kind of did.
Yeah, I see that. I see that for sure. I definitely, I think I'm going to find it fascinating the way that they will be manipulating each other going forward, because up until the last 2 episodes, we really only believed that Joe was being that manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she came out swinging and somehow managed to like out crazy this guy who we've watched be crazy for 2 seasons.
Which it's all there.
It's impressive. Yeah,
it's
there.
all on the screen, because the whole time we were watching it, we kept talking about how crazy she was. We
Yeah.
were like, oh, she's a pretty hippie girl. She can't, you're like, oh, she's crazy. And we're like, oh, but she's crazy.
Yeah, she's super crazy. Underestimating.
Yes. Holy shit.
That's such an
Holy
easy
shit.
word, and it took us both like 5 whole minutes.
We kept underestimating her
There you go.
because she was so female. Because she was
Yeah,
so...
she's cute, and she's little, and she's pretty,
And she
we
cooks,
know her
and-
from something already, and yeah.
So yeah, we were underestimating her the entire time. And I was like, when you go back and look, it's like, oh no, it's all there. Like,
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they did do the little montage too, and it just is. She's got such a face for like micro expressions, and so it's like in the first place, she's very emotional, whether it's good or bad emotion, and she's got very heightened emotions. And then she was very like upset every time he tried to break up with her, in a way that was like too upset for how long they had been seeing each other. It's all very, the breadcrumbs are there for her like turn.
And I guess that's my issue, was the way that this finale went. It made me trust the show less, because I'm afraid that like she's going to be dead by episode 2 of season 3, and we're just going to move on to the next plot in a way that like, and it's not that I think we have to stay in this plot, but it's like, for this show to truly be exceptional, it can't just reinvent the wheel every like I mean, I guess that's actually quite literally what it has to do. I don't know, it can't do the same thing over and over and over again. And the fact that he's already trying to move on to a third girl, I'm kind of like, I don't know that I feel like doing this.
Well, I would find it interesting if he's trying to carry on a covert affair in some way.
Okay.
Like, I don't want Love to be murdered, but I would be interested in a covert affair of something like that. Him trying to like move on with this other person, and then maybe him trying to like get rid of Love. Or it would be hilarious, like most hilarious to me, if by trying to get himself out of his cages consistently, he just gets deeper in worse ones. That would be fun.
And I mean, the more that I think about it, I do gotta be honest, I kind of can't imagine the story without 40. It's like Love without 40, I'm just kind of like exhausted by.
Yeah.
There were a couple things, because if we're going to stay in this plot for a while, there's a handful of elements that are still up in the air. Like the fact that Ellie is out there, as is OG Will.
Yeah.
And we neglected to mention this whole time, they've been flashing back to like young Joe with his like trashy mother.
We mentioned it like once, but we didn't.
Okay.
We didn't keep talking about it because I said I liked it.
Yeah. Oh, well, nothing really came of it. It was very standard, and then nothing as of yet came of it. So, because some people think that the woman next door is his mother, and I'm kind of like, you would recognize your mother. I'm sorry. I think you would.
Well, I think so too. Especially he was old enough to remember what she looked like. That would be hilarious, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. When I said I saw a spoiler saying something about, like, is Joe's mother his neighbor?
I think it could be her, but I think he would recognize her right off. I don't think we need to go to him having an affair with his mother accidentally.
Yeah. No. And then the other thing is that I feel like, well, there's still Love's friends, which I would totally accept if this was their part and they've played it.
Yeah.
But that was a usage of 3 separate characters that we came back to, you know.
Yeah, good characters too, and they just kind of got left out to dry.
And then there was also 40's short film, The Third Twin, that I thought for sure was going to play some. I don't know if it's the Riverdale in me speaking, but
no, I did too. I was like, what though? Did they have a third one? Did they have a sibling we don't know about?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was that. I agree. I noted that title as well.
Yeah, I mean, poor Catherine Bigelow? What's she gonna do now?
She'll be fine.
And. You know, I guess I'm sad about Amy, Candace.
Mm.
She was fun.
Yeah.
This season, and she was stupid, especially in the end. She was stupid.
Yeah, I wish that she had gotten some justice. And I mean, I guess on the one hand, it's nice that she was proven right for herself, but that she's still dead. So.
Yeah, but she also weirdly, I mean, we would have ended up in some variation of this, but the version that we're in is because she forced it. Like,
yeah.
And so in that regard, I don't feel too bad for her because it's like,
no, she made a horror movie mistake.
Yeah, and she's the one who came after him in the first place. Like,
mm-hmm.
And the other thing was, frankly, maybe this will help me get over 40, but if he hadn't have dosed Joe, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, true.
And certainly it wouldn't have gone down this way.
It definitely would have gone down that way because he would have never gone back to that storage unit the way that he did, and you know, like during his trip and everything. So, yeah, I mean, 40 was a little bit hoisted on his own petard there at the end.
He just what was shit? I already forgot. James something, the actor's name. I just wanted to shout him out by name because he was really good.
He was very
made
good.
Some very bold choices. Yeah. I want to know what was on the page. Like, I want to know how 40 was written because I think he deviated from the script a few times.
It's James Scully.
In particular, the "you'd fuck me" with the peony in his hair.
Yeah,
and then giving it to Joe later, and he was like, "Think of me when you're fucking her," and it was so good. So, is there anything else that you wanted to touch upon?
I would be interested if we pick back up with Ellie at any point in a season 3, and
because she could come after them.
Huh?
She could come after them.
She could come after them for sure. I'm also interested in the cop a little bit because I didn't feel like he warranted as much screen time as he got in order for that to just be the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it felt weird. He was like Detective Douchebag for 6 episodes, just creeping in the background, and then he was like the guy who quote unquote saved the day at the end. I don't know. I would be interested to see more of him, to see if they flesh that out at all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, I'm clearly more excited about more than you are, but...
No, I'm excited. I don't want that to be the takeaway. I don't want people to walk out of this thinking I didn't like it. The ending of this season was not my favorite part.
Yeah.
Of the season.
I can agree with that. The ending was not my favorite part either, but I do think it sets up a pretty fascinating way forward.
Mm-hmm. And I also made a comment to you. I just wanted to put it out there, but poor Beck.
Yeah, right? They were really just character assassination on top of character assassination on top of actual assassination.
So she was a little basic. Come on.
Jeez.
Naive. Since when has that been such a crime?
Bestseller. She can't be that bad.
Yeah. So, okay, well, we'll see. We'll see where we go. Hopefully this time next year. Yeah.
Well, we obviously recommend You on Netflix as we did last year. Other than that, you need to follow us places like Twitter @So I'm Watching, Instagram @So I'm Watching This Show. We are also on Facebook and Tumblr, So I'm Watching This Show. You can also link out to everything from our website, soimwatching.com. And other than that, just please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen. And that's it for us.
Bye.
Bye.